Hello, this video is going to go into detail on how to clean up a symbol. For example, splitting up pins over multiple symbols, as well as doing some pin grouping. So first we're going to exit the symbol that we have pulled up here, and here we're going to have the component editing screen. From there we're going to go and view the pin mapping for this component. Now this is going to pull up an Excel spreadsheet that's going to have multiple information from for each pin in the component. Here you can see we are working with an 80 pin component, and it's going to have a lot of information such as the pin function or pin name, the pin number for the footprint, as well as the pin types and which side of the symbol the pins are located. But the first thing we're going to take a look at is this gate number. Here you can see all 80 pins have the same gate number of 1, which means they're all on gate 1 or symbol 1. So if you needed to, you could go through here and change the gate number for each one, 1 through 80, and have 80 different pins or 80 different gates or 80 different symbols. But for this example, we're just going to split all of these pins over 2 different gates or into 2 different symbols. So we'll just change everything from here down to gate number 2. So once we apply these changes, everything with a gate number of 2 will be on the second symbol, and everything else will remain on the first. So you'll just go over to this window here and click Done, and it'll check that pin mapping for any errors, which it found none, and then return us to the component editing screen. Now from here you can see we have 2 different symbols now, or 2 different gates. And also if we go back to the main tool, you can see now we have 2 different symbols in our library. So now if we go back into the component editor, we can open up one of these symbols and take a look at how we can clean this up a little bit more. As you can see, now there's only 40 pins on this symbol, which makes it a little easier to read, but we can do a lot more things as far as grouping goes. If you look on this pane on the right side of the editor, this is what will be used to group the pins together. You can see here in the middle there's a list of all the pin names that are in the symbol, and they are at the moment sorted alphabetically, but you can sort them reverse alphabetically, as well as have no sorting at all, which will just populate the list according to the pin numbers. So for this example, we're going to go back to alphabetical sorting so that our groups are sorted alphabetically when we group pins together. So for this example, say we want all the pins that begin with the letter P to be grouped together. We can just select all of those, and then we can add that group either to the left or the right side of the symbol using this option here. So we're going to go ahead and select the left, and this option here is to remove the gaps that are left by grouped pins when they're moved. So we'll leave that checked so we have no gaps left over here. So now when we hit group pins, you can see it grabs all of those pins we selected, all the pins that begin with the letter P, and groups them over here on the left together. Beyond that, we can get more detailed. Say we want just these pins that have a longer footprint or a longer pin name. We can go through and select all of those, and say we want to have those grouped on the right side of the symbol. We can select that option, and say we want the gaps left when we move the pins. So we would just uncheck that box, and now when we hit group pins, it moves those longer names that we selected over here to the right side, but it also leaves the gaps that were left when before we moved them, which you can see here. So these are just a few of the ways that you can go through and use the tool to clean up your symbols, both through splitting them over multiple gates as well as grouping the pins to make everything a little bit easier to read and comprehend.